Once upon a time, in a cozy little town, there lived a fluffy kitten named Mittens. Mittens had soft white fur with patches of orange and black, and she loved to explore her neighborhood. She lived with her family in a quaint house with a red door right next to a towering oak tree. Every day, Mittens would play in the garden, chasing butterflies and climbing trees. Her favorite game was to sneak up on the birds and squirrels, who were always too quick for her.
Got you, Mr. Squirrel.
One sunny day, Mittens noticed a bright red butterfly fluttering near the garden gate. She had never seen such a beautiful butterfly before, and her curiosity got the best of her. She decided to follow it. Mittens chased the butterfly through the park, past the playground where children were laughing and playing, and down the street lined with colorful houses. She was having so much fun that she didn't realize how far she had wandered from home. Suddenly, the butterfly flew away, and Mittens found herself in a part of town she didn't recognize. The houses looked different, and there were no familiar landmarks. Mittens felt a pang of fear in her chest.
Oh no, where am I? How will I get back home?
Mittens wandered down the street, hoping to find something that looked familiar. But the more she walked, the more lost she felt. She tried to retrace her steps, but everything seemed confusing and unfamiliar. Mittens felt scared and alone. She didn't know what to do. But then she remembered something her mom always told her. If you ever get lost, don't be afraid to ask for help. Gathering her courage, Mittens looked around for someone who could help her. She saw a friendly-looking dog walking with his owner.
Excuse me, Mr. Dog. I'm lost. Can you help me find my way home?
Of course, little one. Where do you live?
I live in the house with the red door by the big oak tree.
Mr. Dog wagged his tail and introduced himself as Max. He told Mittens not to worry and that he would help her find her way home. Max's owner, an elderly lady named Mrs. Brown, kindly agreed to help too. As they walked, Max and Mrs. Brown pointed out various landmarks to Mittens. They passed the bakery where the delicious smell of fresh bread filled the air. Mittens' nose twitched at the delightful aroma. Mittens' stomach growled. She hadn't realized how hungry she was. Mr. Baker, seeing the group, came out with a small piece of bread for Mittens.
Here you go, little one. This will keep you going.
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
Mittens felt a little better with a full tummy. As they continued their journey, they passed the school, where children were playing outside. The kids noticed Mittens and came over to pet her. Mittens enjoyed the children's gentle strokes and felt a bit more at ease. She realized that there were many kind people around who were willing to help her. Next, they reached a big park with lots of trees and flowers. Mittens remembered playing in a park similar to this with her mom. She wondered if they were getting close to home.
This park looks familiar. Maybe we're close.
As they walked through the park, they met a group of birds chirping on a tree branch. Mittens remembered her friends from her garden and decided to ask them if they knew the way.
Hello, birds. I'm lost and trying to find my way home. Do you know where the big oak tree with the red door house is?
Mittens watched as the birds flew ahead, leading the way. Mittens, Max, and Mrs. Brown followed closely. The birds led them through the park and into another neighborhood. Mittens started to recognize the surroundings. She saw the flower shop where her mom used to buy flowers and the little pond where she used to watch the ducks swim.
I know this place. We're close to home.
Finally, they reached a familiar street. Mittens saw the big oak tree in the distance, and her heart leapt with joy.
There it is. That's my home.
Mittens ran towards her house with Max and Mrs. Brown following behind. As she reached the red door, it opened, and her mom stepped out, looking worried.
I'm sorry, Mom. I got lost, but Max and Mrs. Brown helped me find my way home.
Mittens' mom thanked Max and Mrs. Brown for their kindness. Mittens was overjoyed to be home and grateful for the help of her new friends.
Thank you so much for helping me, Max and Mrs. Brown.
Mittens ran inside and jumped into her mom's arms. She learned an important lesson that day. Asking for help is a brave and smart thing to do. Mittens felt so lucky to have met such kind strangers who helped her find her way home. From that day on, Mittens continued to explore, but she always remembered to stay close to home or ask for help if she ever got lost again. She played safely in her garden, knowing that her family and friends were always there to support her. And so, Mittens lived happily with her family, never forgetting the importance of asking for help and the kindness of strangers. Remember, kids, if you're ever in trouble, don't be afraid to ask for help. There are always kind strangers, just like Max and Mrs. Brown, ready to lend a hand.